Their slogan was, "We come to work." That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governors can come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people have lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption. They lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts, and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got, a lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to, not eligible for Social Security. So the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. They use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself blood pressure or paying bills.
754. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor is allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100, and I'm 81 years old, and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for.
I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough, they adapt, but only can do so much when your politicians ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not gonna let Detroit be erased, bulldozed, or wherever. We're gonna fight to the bitter end. Detroit gonna survive.
Okay, friends and neighbors, we'll be back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I've got one important question to ask all of you. Have you made your pledge yet to Free Speech TV? And if not, why the hell not? Come on, seriously. You know, we depend on you, we need you, and we count on you to keep us going here at Free Speech TV because you're all we've got. We don't get any corporate money, we don't get any government money, so all of us, depend. Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman, all the rest depend, Stephanie Miller, depend on you to keep us going on Free Speech TV so we can continue the good work that we do, looking over the news every day, what's happening in Washington, what's happening around the country, what's happening around the globe, what are the important issues that we ought to talk about, particularly what are the progressive issues that we ought to be talking about and working on and fighting for, figuring out the best guests that we can get in studio or on the phone that particular day to help us understand these issues, and then of course opening up the phones and opening up the social media lines so you can get involved in the conversation and express your comments and your opinion on what it all means to you and to your family. That's what we do every day. We can only do it with your help. So we ask you to dig in once again, help keep us on the air here at Free Speech TV. If you can just do $10 a month, that's $120 a year. We'll send you a BP mug, a Bill Press Show mug, and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop just downstairs in this building, Peregrine Coffee. For $20 a month, $240, you will get a very, very special gift indeed. One of the great cheeses from Cowgirl Creamery out on the West Coast, right near where we live in California, Point Reyes Station. And for $30 a month or $360 a year, if you can make that pledge, you'll get the mug and the Cowgirl Creamery. And then as a very, very special item to show you how much we appreciate your support, if you're in a position to pledge $1,000 to Free Speech TV, get yourself to Washington with a friend. Take the plane, take the train, take the bus, drive here, whatever. Carol and I will take you out to dinner the night before, and the next morning we'll invite you to join us in studio to meet the whole team here and to watch a special edition of the Bill Press Show. So with those incentives, hope that you will understand again and be inspired to do the right thing, particularly now at tax time, and take advantage of that this opportunity to get a little write-off on your taxes by helping Free Speech TV. So it's a twofer. You keep progressive television, Free Speech TV on the air, and you get the tax benefit as well. But again, no government money, no corporate money. Here at Free Speech TV, we depend on you. Thanks so much for your help.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket,
and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
What's up, kiddos? It's me, Thursday, March 27th, 2014. Welcome to The Bill Press Show. I am obviously not Bill Press. I am Clinton Yates. I am a columnist for The Washington Post, and I am looking forward to this day. Sitting to my right, of course, is the lovely Peter Ogburn. How are you today, Peter?
Good morning, man.
Glad to see you.
Thank you for coming in.
Glad to be back
Glad
here.
to have you back.
Yeah, man. it's always a good time. Radio is the fun part of life as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
So, glad to be here. Glad to talk to everybody. Of course, running the board is Elisa Murphy. How are you today?
Good morning. Happy Thursday. Almost Friday.
Almost Friday. That is a key part of the information this morning. And, of course, screening your phone calls is Alicia Cruz. If you give us a ring at 866-55-PRESS, 866-55-77377, you will talk to her. And Cyprian Bolding is the videographer. He's sweating my Big East Conference T-shirt. He doesn't know about that. If you didn't watch that 30 for 30 a couple weeks ago or on Selection Sunday, then you should, by the way. And now you know why I'm wearing this. So you want to watch this on DirecTV and on the Dish Network on Free Speech TV, you can do that, where you can see the piece of clothing I'm just talking about, or at youtube.com/TawkrTV or BillPressShow.com. Hit us up on the Twitter box at BP Show, or you can find me at Clinton Yates. So start things off with an experience I had yesterday.
Hit me.
I am 33 years old. Mm-hmm. Everybody in my family wears glasses.
Mm-hmm.
For years, I was known as the person who sort of skated that issue. Recently, it's been a problem, though. I can't drive at night anymore. I can't really see things that are that far away. When I ride the train, I have to walk sort of right up to the board to see how long it is. So I was like, okay, I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to the eye doctor. In general, doctors terrify me. This is just a thing.
Now, have you gone to the eye doctor before, or you just haven't had a problem?
I haven't really had a problem. Okay. And I've been to an eye doctor before, but I can't imagine it had to be more than 10 years ago.
Okay, all right.
Minimum,
Okay.
So I know I need glasses. So I get there, and, we do all the eye tests, yada, yada, yada. She's like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. You just can't really see things that far away. As I mentioned, you're a little nearsighted. I'm like, okay. So she says, well, do you want contacts or do you want frames? I said, well, I'm going to get frames, but there's an off chance that I might want contacts because I play softball, yada, yada. I don't want to be dealing with glasses while I'm on the infield and all this other stuff. So we take the test. And first of all, they have to put the initial pair in your eyes, like when you're sitting in the chair. This takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Alone. This is her trying to put these things in my face. Didn't work out. She's telling me, look left, look right. It's real awkward. It's like, okay. So I'm like, all right, that was just difficult because it was somebody else doing it. I'd never had a problem with it before. Or I've never done this before. So then we go to the training session where I have to take them out, put them back in, take them out and put them back in. How about that didn't happen at all? Not even close. I managed to get the two of them out after 15 minutes. Couldn't get either one of them back in. The lady was looking at me like I was just a disgrace to the humankind. I was like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm not coordinated enough to rip open my eyelid and stick something on my eyeball.
You are not supposed to be able to do that.
It's not
nature
natural.
is telling you
right. I was
like,
I'm sorry. I'm just not good at this, And she was so ashamed. She's looking at me like, come on, you can figure this out. And I said, you know what? I don't like your attitude either.
Yeah,
I'm not here for this,
seriously.
And so, you know what? I bailed.
Good
all right,
for you.
Totally done with it. Contacts are not in my future. I refuse to wear them because I'm simply, guess what? I can't do it.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
I've worn glasses for about probably 12 years now, and I can't do the contacts thing. There was a period of time where I said, I'll try contacts. I had the same experience. I'm not gonna touch my eyeball. It ain't gonna happen.
I don't understand how people do this twice a day, every day of their lives. It makes no sense to me. Again, You've got to be like a, I don't know, like a skilled technician.
It's not natural.
It's not natural.
Your body is telling you, do not shove something in your eyeball.
I ain't doing it. But Warby Parker, I will be coming your way.
Listen, let me tell you something. I just ordered my first couple of pairs, by the way, because you have to color coordinate.
Of course. I mean, that's,
from Warby Parker.
Yeah.
So it's this website. You go to Warby Parker, and then you look around at the different frames that they have, and then they'll send you 5 frames, and you try them on and see what works with your head. Because let's face it, this here.
You got a lot of dome going.
There's a lot of dome here.
Yeah.
So I try them on. I find out which ones I want. I send them back. I tell them. They call my eye doctor to get my script, right? Like I don't have to do any legwork. They do that, and then they just send them to me.
And no shame from somebody who's trying to tell you what you can and cannot do with your fingers.
And it's like $100 for a pair of glasses.
That's
now,
awesome.
You try to buy a pair of frames from an eye doctor, it's like $500.
Yeah, they're So
It's
anyway,
great.
That's what's going on. But we got a very big show today. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Clinton, you've seen the Vogue cover with Kanye and Kim on the cover, and inside there's a sweet picture of the family, right? So
moving right along. Yeah, I'm nodding my head somewhat facetiously. At this
Kim
point.
and Kanye and little baby Northwest. Well, Kim Kardashian was on Late Night with Seth Meyers, and she let slip that during that photo shoot, Northwest, the baby, peed on Kanye.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They were having a picture there. They were posing. The baby peed, came through the diaper, got on Kanye's shirt.
Not to get too scatological with this, but I'm sure there are people across America that would pay millions to do the same thing.
I know. Exactly.
I like the Kardashians, though, personally, but that's just me.
All right. I'll let you have that. I'll let you have that opinion. I think it's an interesting cover and an interesting shoot. We have a celebrity passing, Clinton. Montecore. You remember Montecore?
No.
Montecore is the white tiger that mauled Roy from Siegfried and Roy all those years ago. Montecore has passed away, 17 years young, died in captivity in Los Angeles. Like I said, 17 years old. Almost seems like he got away with it.
I was going to say,
nothing ever really happened.
You know, that's got to be the most famous tiger in America, I presume.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
next to Tony the Tiger,
right next to
or Cecil Fielder.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean,
that's funny.
All because he finally became a tiger and did what tigers do.
Right. No, I'm on Team Tiger, by the way.
Listen, like I said, if you're playing around with wild animals, expect to get mauled. Simple as that.
And baseball's opening day is just a few days away, March 31st. We are almost there. So just in time, we got to look at Major League Baseball's payrolls. Who has the highest payroll in baseball?
Doyers.
The Doyers, $235 million. The New York Yankees come in second at 203. Washington Nationals on the list at number 9 with
That's healthy.
134. Lowest payroll, any guesses?
Marlins?
That is a good guess. They are 29th.
Okay.
Number 30 is Houston.
Ooh, right.
$44.5 million. 44.5 compared to the Doyers' 235.
Wow. There are guys, man, that's 44.5. That's not a major league product.
No, it's not.
Wow.
No, it is
Bo
not.
Porter's the manager of that team. He used to be the third base coach for the Nationals.
Yeah, Miami had 47 million, Tampa Bay 77. So, you're slumming down there near the bottom of that list.
My man Bryce Harper actually voted the most overrated player in the league, which is pretty nuts. But
I saw that.
Anyway, so we're shifting gears a little bit here. In case you haven't seen the breaking news this morning, Thai officials, or a Thai satellite, has said that they've found 300-odd, pieces of debris floating in the ocean. And, it's sort of as... The Malaysian Airlines story has been a difficult one for a lot of people because with so little information but so much coverage, it's difficult to really justify spending hours and hours of airtime on this. Obviously, it's a big deal as a tragedy because the specifics of the story are so bizarre. But CNN has come under a lot of fire for the fact that they've been doing effectively nonstop around-the-clock coverage on this. My stance is very simple. CNN is of a different branding type than a lot of these other television stations. You go to places around the world, you're not watching MSNBC. You're not watching Fox News. You're watching CNN. And although CNN International is specifically a different product, any place that caters to, quite frankly, Americans or a certain pocket of sort of westernized, if you will, countries, CNN is the channel. So there's an argument that they have a certain duty to keep up with this story simply because of how their brand exists. However, things have gotten a little ridiculous, over the last 2 weeks or so.
I think it's a very smart point. I think that there are a lot of TV networks that cover these types of events. What I think CNN has gotten themselves into is the worst of both worlds. Because we here in America, we do sensationalism pretty well.
Yes, that is a calling card of American television.
USA. We got that down pat. And you mentioned MSNBC and Fox News. I mean, that is sensational TV news. And I think that for CNN to break away from that is an admirable goal.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they did it with this story.
No.
I think that they kept the sensationalism there while covering a global big story.
Absolutely. You got people talking about things like whether or not the appearance of the supernatural is a realistic option in this story. And guess what? No, it's not.
Yeah, I know.
Breaking
Right.
news,
Yeah.
no black holes over the Indian Ocean. So, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Do you think CNN has gone overboard with their coverage of the Malaysia Airlines flight? That is the question. Do you think that there's too much going on CNN?
When the Malaysian Prime Minister came out and made the announcement that we don't expect anybody to survive this, we believe it crashed in the Southern Indian Ocean, my reaction was, I wonder if he's doing this just to get CNN to stop talking about it.
I mean, because you got to think like, hey, guys, we don't know what's going on. Stop. It. Yeah, you never know.
But the thing is, it hasn't stopped CNN.
No.
Like, they've just kept barreling through this story, even though it's
pretty incredible.
There's really no news.
How long do you go with this? 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. I'm Clinton Yates. This is The Bill Press Show. Today is Thursday. I am happy because I have a cool T-shirt on and I get to talk to you across America. We'll be right back.
This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, we'll get back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I got a couple of questions for you. First one, are you enjoying Free Speech TV? Well, I know the answer to that one. If you weren't, you wouldn't keep watching. We appreciate that. Good to have you with us. And the second question is, since you enjoy Free Speech TV so much, have you done your share to keep us on the air? Have you made your pledge? If so, we thank you because so many of you have. But if not, let's get on it. Do it today. It is so important. Look, again, I don't have to tell you how special Free Speech TV is. I'm very, very proud to be part of it. Less than a year right now. But it's the only place you can find such great hosts, Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman. I hope I'm one of them. And it's all content-free, no commercials, the only truly independent and progressive cable channel that is out there. You won't find it anywhere else. But the thing is, we depend on you. That's the only way we can stay on the air. We get no corporate money, no government money, no sponsor money, right? It is all from our viewers that keep us going. So we ask you to give us a call today, 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your pledge. And as a little reward for making your pledge, if you can do us this $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug. You can have your coffee with us every day, and a pound of coffee from Washington's favorite little coffee shop, which is right downstairs in our building. It's called Peregrine Coffee. If you can afford $20 a month, $240 pledge, you will get a very, very special treat from one of my favorite little businesses out in West Marin, California, West Marin County, from Cowgirl Creamery, a selection of their best cheeses. I think they're the best cheeses on the planet, and I've lived in Switzerland, so I know. Cowgirl Creamery for $240. For $360 or $30 a month, we'll send you the Cowgirl Creamery and a mug. And here's something very, very special. If you can do it and you can afford $1,000 for Free Speech TV, then make your way to Washington as a little special treat. I'll take you out to dinner with Carol, and we'll invite you and a guest in to watch the show the next morning here in our studio in downtown Washington, D.C. So those are just our ways of saying thank you ahead of time to you. Please do it. Please consider it today. And again, the number to call is 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org. We love bringing the show to you every morning, love being with you every day, and ask you to be with us by making your pledge as soon as you can and as generously as you can. Thank you so much.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, welcome back to the program. It is Thursday, March 27th. My name is Clinton Yates. This is The Bill Press Show. I am a columnist for the Washington Post. Pierre Ogburn is here with me, talking about Malaysia Airlines. 866-55-PRESS. 866-557-7377. Do you think CNN is going overboard with its coverage of that flight? That is the question today. But first, I want to play a little clip from Comedy Central's Glorious Show, which we like to call The Daily Show, because they tackled this subject. Was it earlier this week? Earlier this week on CNN, and just exactly how they're going about talking about this situation.
Investigators sometimes use psychics. Why hasn't anyone considered the services of a credible psychic specializing in missing persons? I mean, it sounds incredible, but they have been used before.
Yeah. I don't know while we're at it. Why not use that octopus that always predicts the World Cup victor? Why don't we strap some wings to Wolf Blitzer and just let him loose? Because in order to catch a plane, you must become a plane. CNN's missing airline obsession not only doubled their primetime ratings, it itself became news, because the only thing less likely than an airplane disappearing out of the sky is CNN's ratings doubling.
All right, parting shot right there. But again, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Do you think CNN has gone overboard with the coverage? One thing I think has gone overboard, not just in terms of time, but yes, as mentioned in that clip, I mean, come on. Some of these theories, I mean, what are we talking about here? Psychics, black holes, all this other stuff. I mean, I don't get how you can get on a nationally, on a national television station and actually say some of the things that some of these people have said.
This gets back to the sensationalism stuff. Yeah. Because, I mean, okay, I get it. You need to vamp. You need to cover time. You need to fill time. Bring on some experts. Bring on some people who know what they're talking about. Tell me the layout of this plane.
Yeah.
Look. Disappearing plane?
Weird.
Big story, big deal.
Absolutely.
230-something people on board, big deal. However.
Yeah. There's no plane.
We could cover this smartly. And when you have someone out there just sort of randomly throwing ideas, news people randomly throwing ideas up against the wall to see what will stick, that's
not a
do
good
a disservice.
My favorite thing that I've probably seen over the past 2 weeks is on, I can't remember what morning show it is. It's one of these national morning shows on a network. And they had a guy on who was, I guess, a pilot. He was some sort of aviator or whatever expert. And you know how I knew he was an aviator expert? Because he was wearing a bomber jacket on television.
Yeah.
Seriously? Like, I'll believe you, dude. Like, I'm going to presume you're not lying to me.
Now,
you know what I'm saying? By telling me that you're a pilot because you're actually on television.
As a producer, I can only imagine how that went down. Dude probably showed up in a coat and tie. And the producer's like, you don't look official enough. You know what?
Sure.
Let me go get you a bomber jacket. I think I got a little wing, a pin to put on you.
You're going to need some sunglasses.
Yeah. Gonna get some sunglasses, the old aviators.
Crazy. But, I will say this, though, as well, which is one of the other issues that came up in this discussion was this notion of how Malaysia Airlines informed the families. There's a lot of outrage about sending text messages and SMS messaging as the way that they inform people. And I'm thinking to myself, hey, look, if I'm the family member of a victim, there's not really very many options. Understandably, you said, 220 people?
Yeah.
I'm not really expecting somebody to come to my door and console me a la, the way the military does or whatever. I mean, I'm just not sure that that's a reasonable expectation for a family from an airline. I'm not saying it wouldn't be nice, and I'm not saying it wouldn't be considerate, but I certainly would prefer a text message to, let's say, a robocall, or anything else. I mean, an email to me is probably the best in that scenario because you can provide the most detail. But people were outraged at this. I'm like, look, they got to spread this information before they find out somewhere else. A text is plenty sensible to me.
I'm laughing because I said the same exact thing.
Really?
Earlier this week.
I did not know that.
The same, and like people were saying, oh, they should have called them. Well, how are you going to call everybody? I mean, you've got 230-something people on the plane.
Yeah.
So you've got at least one phone call for every one of the people on the plane.
Right.
What are you going to do?
They got a hotel full of families.
Right.
You can't just sit there cold calling everybody expecting them to pick up. And then how long do you wait once you do talk to them? I mean, what do you say? Hold on, wait for this message, and then I'm going to hang up?
Right,
It makes absolutely no sense.
The other thing that I don't think we realize in that particular argument is how dependent other countries are on text messaging.
Absolutely.
I mean, they use text messages way more than we do.
Right. The social stigma around it isn't the same.
Exactly.
It's not just the land of sort of bratty teenagers and, horny college kids. Like, it's what people use to communicate. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And beyond that, the media factor here is big. If this was 20 years ago, when the only way that you got news was either through a big television station or through a random sort of radio station, it'd be different. But when you have an entire globe full of cameras and media outlets descending upon Malaysia, you don't want some family walking by from the bathroom and seeing a television and the next thing you know, finding the news out themselves. I actually think that it makes complete sense for Malaysia Airlines to try to get this news out as efficiently and as accurately as possible. But again, that's just me. I wouldn't want to talk to a stranger to find out that a family member of mine had died. That would be awful. Awful.
Here's what I'm interested to see is where CNN pivots away from it.
Well, at what point?
At what point do they say, enough, we've given this enough?
It's a very good question. But, again, still no plane, still no black holes. If they find that thing, I will be absolutely stunned, personally. Yeah. Anyway, I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Bill Press here on The Bill Press Show. It's Thursday, which means I'm happy because it's almost Friday. See you soon.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, we'll be back to the news and your commentary and your comments in just a moment. But first, let me just be very, very straight with you. We need your help. You know what Free Speech TV is all about? We're very, very lucky and very proud to be part of it. But it's the only place that you can find completely independent, unfettered, no restrictions, news and commentary from the left all day long, with no corporate money, no commercials, no government money. But without all of that, we depend on you. And we ask for your help and need your help this time of the year. By the way, it's a good time to make a contribution because you can take it off on your taxes. Don't forget that. We know you love free speech. If you didn't, you wouldn't be watching. But again, we can only stay on the air. The only source of funding we have is your help. So many of you have helped already. We thank you for that. And for those of you who haven't yet, you intend to do so, you just didn't get around to it, do it today. Call that number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org, and make whatever pledge you can. Now, I hope you do it out of the goodness of your heart, but maybe just as a little extra incentive, we'll offer you a couple of special premiums. If you can pledge just $10 a month, $120 a year, we'll give you a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop, Peregrine, right down on the street level in this building. For $20 a month, $240 a year, very, very special. The best cheese in the world, take it from me, made out in Point Reyes Station, California, from Cowgirl Creamery. They're wonderful, wonderful people. Send you a Cowgirl Creamery a special item. And for $360 a year or $30 a month, you'll get the mug and the Cowgirl Creamery. Now, here's something very, very special. Those of you who can, make a very special pledge of $1,000 to Free Speech TV. You get your way to Washington. We've got a deal for you. Carol and I will take you and a guest out to dinner and then invite you here into the studio the next morning to watch the show with all of us. So whatever pushes your button, please be as generous as you can. And again, do it today at that number, 877-378-8669. Take advantage of that tax opportunity to get your tax contribution. And most importantly, to show your support and show your help for Free Speech TV. We are there with you and for you every single day of the week. We need you to be there for us this one special time of the year. Thanks for your help.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is, and I am Clinton Yates of the Washington Post, filling in for Bill Press alongside of Peter Ogburn. What up, what up?
Hey, hey, hey.
So, when we come in the mornings, we do our little routine. We sit, we meet, we have coffee, we talk about what we're going to chat about. Once the mics crack here at our Capitol Hill studios in the District of Columbia, also known as the capital of the United States of America, and we couldn't help but notice today there's a rather interesting scene unfolding on camera at the Vatican.
Man.
I mean, and you see things on morning television, they're all sort of the same scenes. But every once in a while, something catches your eye on live footage and you think, what on earth am I looking at? And that absolutely happened this morning with the president walking through the halls. Describe what you saw.
Oh, first of all, I was transfixed by this scene of the president going in to meet with the Pope this morning. And the way that they did this, there were probably 20 old white dudes.
At least 25.
Dressed like butlers.
Yes.
And they're they're shuffling down this long hallway.
At what I'd call like 2/5 speed.
Yeah.
Not like 3/4 speed. Not even half speed.
Not even half speed.
Yeah. It was a very oddball cadence.
Very slow. And they come down this long hallway and into, I guess, what's called the throne room, where the Pope has his, by the way, the throne room.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Let's not get into that. Right.
And
it's not a bathroom, by the way.
Exactly.
Let's make that clear.
So as these old guys come shuffling very slowly down the hall, at the end of this procession is the President of the United States of America.
Just in a suit.
In a suit. Look, I mean.
The look on his face was priceless. He's sort of, he's clearly trying to be respectful of the scenario, but he's also highly unimpressed with the proceedings, and he's just sort of looking around like, okay, guys, can we get on with it? Like, I think we have some audio from how this went down. If you could hit that, Lisa. You already get the idea.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
Right.
Very official.
A lot of pomp and a lot of circumstance. But again, look on his face was absolutely priceless for him to just be like, you know what, guys, I really don't have time for this. I don't care who you are. Yeah. We're walking around town hanging rights like it's in some episode of The West Wing, in unison. It doesn't really make sense. But there's a couple interesting things around the history of this meeting. This is only the 9th president to meet, or sitting president to meet with the Pope, which to me is a very surprisingly low number considering, how long this has been. I guess Woodrow Wilson back in 1919 was the first guy who did this in 150 years when he did it as a result of the sort of Protestant, Catholic, that whole bit. You know what I mean? That wasn't exactly the best relationship in the world for a long time.
Smooth that over. But in 100 years, basically, 9 times is it? That's
basically
incredible.
It's not a lot. But of course, what's great about this is the White House poll report.
Yeah.
Which reads like something out of a WrestleMania title card bit. Just reading from this email, the subject says, POTUS, all caps, meets Pope, all caps. Like, Pontiff, President, POTUS, Pope. What? I don't even know what that is. But apparently they had a nice little conversation, and the president said it was wonderful to meet you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And, excuse me. And he also said, it's a great honor. I'm a great admirer. Thank you so much for receiving me. Now, I'm not sure that I necessarily understand. It's not that I don't understand what the purposes of them meeting with the Pope are, but it seems very outdated as a diplomatic method, just considering where the Catholic Church is in the world. And I was wondering what your thoughts were on that.
I think that this Pope is an interesting guy.
Absolutely.
And I think that the fact that the Catholic Church has as much interest in it now is solely due to the fact that they got a guy like Pope Francis who is more socially progressive than any pope that any of us can remember.
Absolutely.
And so I know that the president is interested in meeting him because they got a lot to talk about. However, I would like to see our president. I know this might be a little jingoistic or whatever. I'd like to see our president be with the Pope more on his terms.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is the Pope. This is not the king. This is not some ruler. And if this is a guy that wants to impress me, right, as a non-believer,
right,
and someone who doesn't go to church, that the Catholic Church is something I should pay attention to, how about not make the president of the United States walk in what looks like a funeral procession?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's really
kiss the ring.
It's really hard to take the Catholic Church as an entity, not as a sect, but as an entity seriously.
Ridiculous.
When this level of pageantry has to be involved in almost everything. It's like, listen, this guy's the president. Yeah. All right, he's not the mayor, whatever of some town in Italy. I mean, this is not what he needs in order to be able to talk to what is effectively a world leader, even if he is just sort of the leader of religion. I'm with you. It's not that I can't respect what the purpose is of the visit. It's just very difficult to consider this anything other than a big showpiece when everything involves all of this foolishness. I mean, it is very bizarre to me that it's 2014. Yeah. Modernize your setup a little bit. I don't know.
Like his views have evolved.
Right.
Like he's pushing the Catholic Church's views into wholly new territories. And the fact that he can't change this thing up a little bit and just say, hey, come on. Guys, we've got the President of the United States here.
Right. Yeah. Chill out on all this.
We can sit down and have a cup of coffee.
Right. We don't need all the gold-plated, medallions and all this other stuff.
By the way, pool report just came in. So, one of the customs when you visit the Pope, I guess you have to bring him a gift.
Why does the Pope need gifts?
Right.
The Pope can get anything he wants in the world.
Agreed.
Well, except for one thing. But I'm saying, why do you need to bring the Pope a gift every time you come? That makes no sense.
So the President of the United States brought him a gift. Here's what it is.
Hold on, clue.
All right. Okay. It is bigger than a bread box. It's bigger than a bread box.
Let's get a pair of the new Yeezys.
The Pope already has that. He's the Pope.
Okay, he's got
the
right.
Pope.
He's got his
the-
own right. He clearly had those mainlined.
A custom-made seed chest featuring a variety of fruit and vegetable seeds used in the White House garden.
What? What do you mean?
The chest.
What's
is,
custom made? The chest or the seeds?
I guess the chest. Yeah. I guess the chest. The chest is made from American leather. Features reclaimed wood from the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary, which is one of the oldest Catholic cathedrals built in the United States.
Where do you put that? Oh, thanks, Barack.
Oh, you know what?
I've got a perfect place for this. I've been clearing it out on my on my papal mantle because I don't have all these other things up there. Since I'm all about. That's ridiculous.
Put these next to my Yeezys.
I don't really understand why everything. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just too much. It's way over the top, and I feel like there's going to be one president who finally goes in there and just says, you know what? I'm not down with this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no reason. Why don't we meet at Starbucks down the street? Because that's a little easier for me to deal with. Anyway, let's go to the phones. 866-55-PRESS, 866-55-PRESS. Fletch in Alexandria, New Hampshire. How are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. What's going on?
All right. Fletch lives.
I
Fletch
think
does
we're looking
live.
at the best pope in the world we've ever had in the time of humanity, and we're looking at the best president in the world in the time of humanity, and let's give us some time to think and clean up our waterways. I'll shut up. Back at you. Give me a question, or can I give you?
All right, thanks, Fletch. Appreciate the phone call.
Fletch.
Yeah, so, all right. Anyway, that was interesting enough. But, yeah, so here's the thing. If I ever go to the Vatican, I'll tell you what. If I walk through there, I'm walking at 5 times that speed.
Yeah, you should.
Probably not a whole lot to see outside of, I don't even know. But that just a weird situation altogether for me. And I think to a man, the president would tell you the same.
I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, right? And we went to church.
Yes, you did.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. I grew up in a fine church. We were the type that went to church 3 times a week. Right?
Wow.
And it was a very informal thing. And we had this thing of no instruments at the church. Because
sounds fun.
Well, so here's the deal, right? Anything that would be interference and giving praise and glory to something other than God,
His Highness.
You're bringing attention to yourself. There were people didn't sing solos, right? We sang together as a group. And so, look, that's backwards and messed up too. This is not a defense of that, but I do think that when you look at the difference between the two, right? A real spiritual relationship, right? If that's what you're going for, to put all of this gold and pageantry and ornate and creating this head of your organization who is infallible. It's a little
strange.
It's a little strange to me.
Yeah,
and it gets away from, I think, actual biblical teachings, if that's your bag.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I got nothing against religion. I got nothing against Christianity. I happen to be a secular humanist myself. I just think that you don't necessarily happen to need something that you don't know exists in order to be a decent human being. But that's a personal stance. I think that, the church obviously has a lot of places in a lot of different parts of America, and I don't begrudge that. But again, a lot going on at the Vatican with the Pope that probably doesn't need to be going on. But anyway, so I'm Clinton Yates. I'm co-hosting the Bill Press Show here. And when we come back, Zoe Carpenter from The Nation. She's the D.C. Bureau reporter, and we'll be talking about a lot of different stuff. It's Thursday, March 27th, 2014. This is The Bill Press Show. See you in a second.
Hey friends, we'll be back to the news and your commentary and your comments in just a moment. But first, let me just be very, very straight with you. We need your help. You know what Free Speech TV is all about? We're very, very lucky and very proud to be part of it. But it's the only place that you can find completely independent, unfettered, no restrictions, news and commentary from the left all day long, with no corporate money, no commercials, no government money. But without all of that, we depend on you, and we ask for your help and need your help this time of the year. By the way, it's a good time to make a contribution because you can take it off on your taxes. Don't forget that. We know you love free speech. If you didn't, you wouldn't be watching. But again, we can only stay on the air. The only source of funding we have is your help. So many of you have helped already. We thank you for that. And for those of you who haven't yet, you intend to do so, you just didn't get around to it, do it today. Call that number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org, and make whatever pledge you can. Now, I hope you do it out of the goodness of your heart, but maybe just as a little extra incentive, we'll offer you a couple of special premiums. If you can pledge just $10 a month, $120 a year, we'll give you a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop, Peregrine, right down on the street level in this building. For $20 a month, $240 a year, very, very special. The best cheese in the world, take it from me. Made out in Point Reyes Station, California, from Cowgirl Creamery. They're wonderful, wonderful people. Send you a Cowgirl Creamery a special item. And for $360 a year or $30 a month, you'll get the mug and the Cowgirl Creamery. Now, here's something very, very special. Those of you who can make a very special pledge of $1,000 to Free Speech TV, you get your way to Washington. I've got a deal for you. Carol and I will take you and a guest out to dinner and then invite you here into the studio the next morning to watch the show with all of us. So whatever pushes your button, please be as generous as you can. And again, do it today at that number, 877-378-8669. Take advantage of that tax opportunity to get your tax contribution. And most importantly, to show your support and show your help for Free Speech TV. We are there with you and for you every single day of the week. We need you to be there for us this one special time of the year. Thanks for your help.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
And I am Clinton Yates from the Washington Post, filling in for Bill Press. How we doing this morning? It is Thursday, March 27th. Happy to be here. Happy that you all have joined us as well. On the line with us, we have Zoe Carpenter, the nation's D.C. Bureau reporter. How are you this morning, Zoe?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Glad for you to be here. Of course, Peter Ogburn is here with us as well.
Hey.
And so, let's get right into this. So, explain this to me, what is going on with the earned income tax credit situation. I think that, to a lot of people, this is somewhat wonky, but it's worth sort of understanding because it affects a lot of low-wage Americans. Just give me an overview and breakdown what is actually happening in terms of what Republicans and Democrats are sort of dealing with in trying to create a better situation for these low-wage employees.
Sure. So the Earned Income Tax Credit is one of the largest and most effective anti-poverty programs, and it does also affect some middle-income families as well. And it basically rewards people for working and lessens their tax burden at the lower end of the income bracket. So this is something that, was passed by a Republican president. It's been expanded by Republicans and Democrats alike throughout the years. And it's one of the very few things that Republicans in Congress have actually pointed to as something that is a positive anti-poverty program. And in recent months, we've heard people like Paul Ryan suggest that it should be expanded. And now a Democratic Senator, Patty Murray, has actually introduced a bill in the Senate to do exactly that, to expand the program so that it helps more childless adults and so that it strengthens the benefits for married workers with kids. And so this puts a real test before the Republicans, whether they want to get behind a Democratic bill, which seems very unlikely, or whether they want to reject something that they have previously praised.
Right, but they have stated themselves as being anti-poverty in the context of looking to get people out of poverty, so it would be pretty obvious that opposing something like this is really just a matter of spite, no?
Of course. And it's been pretty clear all along that their praising of the EITC has mostly served as a foil for the minimum wage. So whenever the Democrats put forward a minimum wage increase, they say, oh, well, we have the earned income tax credit. Let's just strengthen that. And this is pretty clear. This should make it pretty clear that that's just a talking point for them, not a real policy stance.
So, I mean, how do you think that this, sort of most Americans look at this and understand this? I mean, do you think that people... Do you think that people are sort of take your stance that they just don't believe that it's real that the GOP is actually anti-poverty, or is this, sort of more just, I don't know, partisan infighting?
I think, unfortunately, because we live in a media landscape that's very much segregated, I don't think that most people who currently support the GOP will take this as a startling revelation at all. I think that Republicans have been able to wiggle their way out of situations that should show their hypocrisy, such as voting against unemployed benefits for the long-term unemployed. That should be a pretty clear indication that they don't actually care about the long-term unemployed, and yet that hasn't really affected their polling so far. So I think that they're not worried about that, and it'll take some determined Democratic messaging to make them pay.
Translation: the GOP has deluded a good part of America and their base into thinking that what they actually are trying to do is not what they're going to do. Anyway.
Well,
exactly.
One of the things I wonder is when you see stories like this, and then you see this story from late last week, earlier this week, about how the GOP is finally going to put forth, in their words, a real alternative to Obamacare. I wonder if they have sort of seen how people are receiving them. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, they certainly have an image problem. They have for quite some time. And so whether or not, if there was a wake-up call and this is any kind of reaction to the American people.
I think they're kind of a post-reality party at this point. You would have thought that the 2012 elections would have been a wake-up call. Unfortunately, the midterm map, just the basic geography of the races this year, means they don't actually have to work that hard to do well, I think.
Well, that's interesting. That is very interesting, and that's what I like to call the rich staying richer.
Yeah, but I do think eventually this is all going to catch up with them. You mentioned the 2012 elections, which I think the Latino vote had a big hand in delivering major losses to the Republicans, and yet they still don't seem to be that concerned with getting any kind of immigration reform done. I'm not sure what the wake-up call is going to be, but it's got to come for them at some point.
Absolutely. We're talking with Zoe Carpenter from The Nation. She is the D.C. Bureau reporter. She is here with us this morning. So what do you think? What do you see happening on this regarding this entire situation?
With the EITC, I think we'll see if Harry Reid brings it up for a vote in the Senate. I would say that that's likely. And then I would be very surprised if Republicans get behind it. I think that there are plenty of ways that they could wiggle their way out of it. They could say that it's too much spending. Of course, it's paid for by closing corporate tax loopholes, some of which have already been proposed by Republicans in the House. So they'll have to do some smooth talking to justify shooting it down, but I don't think it'll get to the floor of the House or even close.
Not exactly their forte. Thank you very much for joining us, Zoe. I appreciate the time. I'm Clinton Yates.
Sure.
This is the Bill Press Show. We will be back soon.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help because we wouldn't be here without you. You know, it's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? Well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call, at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery. For $360 or $30 a month, you'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates. I am a columnist for the Washington Post. Thanks for joining us here on the Bill Press Show on Thursday, March 27th. Pete Ogburn is right here with me. What's going on, Peter?
Hey.
So we talked about a little something to open the show, which was about the fact that I am not going to ever be able to wear contacts in my life because I simply do not have the coordination in my fat digits to stick something so tiny onto my actual eyeball. But oh, by the way, you can tweet the show at BP Show if you'd like to get in contact with us that way. But Jessica Ramsaran at JRAMSARAN sent us a picture of her touching her own eyeball, which is absolutely grotesque.
What is wrong with you?
I can't even deal with that.
Jessica, no.
Please do not tweet us pictures of you touching your eyeball, because that is just grotesque on every level. But
I'm with you, man.
You said you've got an eye thing.
I got an eye. Like, forget it. I can't watch like that scene in The Clockwork Orange where he got his eyes. Forget it. Try it. Try and touch your eyeball. Your body won't let you do it. It's like it tries to shut you down.
It's absolutely unnatural. I can't understand how you people are doing this on a regular basis. Anyway, so we'll be back at the top of the hour again. I'm Clinton Yates from the Washington Post. Do not send me a picture of you doing anything to your eyeball.
Please.
This is the Bill Press Show. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Okay, friends and neighbors, we'll be back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I've got one important question to ask all of you. Have you made your pledge yet to Free Speech TV? And if not, why the hell not? Come on, seriously. You know, we depend on you, we need you, and we count on you to keep us going here at Free Speech TV because you're all we've got. We don't get any corporate money, we don't get any government money, so all of us, depend. Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman, all the rest depend. Stephanie Miller depend on you to keep us going on Free Speech TV, so we can continue the good work that we do, looking over the news every day. What's happening in Washington? What's happening around the country? What's happening around the globe? What are the important issues that we ought to talk about? Particularly, what are the progressive issues that we ought to be talking about and working on and fighting for? Figuring out the best guests that we can get in studio or on the phone that particular day to help us understand these issues. And then, of course, opening up the phones and opening up the social media lines so you can get involved in the conversation and express your comments and your opinion on what it all means to you and to your family. That's what we do every day. We can only do it with your help. So we ask you to dig in once again. Help keep us on the air here at Free Speech TV. If you can just do $10 a month, that's $120 a year. We'll send you a BP mug, a Bill Press Show mug, and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop just downstairs in this building, Peregrine Coffee. For $20 a month, $240, you will get a very, very special gift indeed. One of the great cheeses from Cowgirl Creamery out on the West Coast, right near where we live in California, Point Reyes Station. And for $30 a month or $360 a year, if you can make that pledge, you'll get the mug and the Cowgirl Creamery. And then, as a very, very special item to show you how much we appreciate your support, if you're in a position to pledge $1,000 to Free Speech TV, get yourself to Washington with a friend. Take the plane, take the train, take the bus, drive here, whatever. Carol and I will take you out to dinner the night before, and the next morning we'll invite you to join us in studio to meet the whole team here and to watch a special edition of the Bill Press Show. So with those incentives, hope that you will understand again and be inspired to do the right thing, particularly now tax time, and take advantage of that this opportunity to get a little write-off on your taxes by helping Free Speech TV. So it's a twofer. You keep progressive television, Free Speech TV on the air, and you get the tax benefit as well. But again, no government money, no corporate money. Here at Free Speech TV, we depend on you. Thanks so much for your help.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
Eye cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Show.
What's up, kiddos? Clinton Yates here, filling in for Bill Press here on Thursday, March 27th. Got a packed house here per usual. Peter Ogburn, the executive producer of this program, is to my right. How are you?
Hey now.
Elisa Murphy is running the board.
Good morning.
Usual. Alicia Cruz is screening your phone calls. If you call us up at 866-55-PRESS, that's 866-55-77377. Of course, Cyprian Bolding is the videographer, making me look good, as well as everybody else. I got a cool t-shirt on, Big East Conference throwback job. That's how I learned how to play basketball, punching people in the face when you didn't like what they had to say to you. That's another story. You can watch us on DirecTV and Dish Network on Free Speech TV, as well as at youtube.com/TawkrTV. Get at me on Twitter at BP Show or at Clinton Yates. That is my handle. Speaking of college basketball, it is bracketology time. We got Sweet 16 games coming up starting tonight, right?
Yeah.
I believe starting tonight and tomorrow. And here's the thing. 2 years ago, dude, I let go of the brackets. I said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. It was the kind of thing, when I played basketball in high school, all the guys on the team did it. You stick your brackets up in the locker room and you would mock each other endlessly at some guy who had a terrible pick or whatever. Over the years, that became, sort of the whole online marketing, bracketing thing, and everybody does it now. But after a while, I wasn't really getting much enjoyment out of it. Forget about whether or not I was any good at it. It was just taking up too much of my time, too much of my brain space. And I found myself not enjoying watching the tournament as much.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I did. You had a similar experience.
We hadn't talked about this.
No.
We were talking this morning. This year, decided I'm not going to do a bracket.
Right.
Because of the same thing. You become chained to your bracket.
Yes. Psychologically.
And you just worry about it, and you worry about how you're going to take heat from everybody else that knows what your bracket looks like.
Right, because it's all public.
Right. And it's too much.
Way too much.
But because we do this show, we all do a bracket. We ought to fill out a bracket, right? And so I couldn't just not do a bracket. So I sat down with my 6-year-old, and we did a bracket. And I gave him the rankings of the teams, and I told him the mascots.
Of course.
And I just said, here, who do you think? And so his final four is Florida, Virginia, Michigan, and Arizona. So he picked Virginia.
Not a terrible final four.
He picked Virginia because it's close by.
Right.
He picked Arizona because they have cactuses. He picked Michigan because their mascot is a Wolverine.
Is awesome.
And that's his favorite comic book character. And then he picked Florida to win it all because that's where Disney World is.
Nice.
So I actually sat him down and I actually recorded some of our bracketology of how he got to his picks.
Your final four is Florida, Virginia, Michigan, and Arizona. That's actually pretty good. How did you get to that?
I really don't know.
Did you pick any of the teams based on how close they are to you or how mommy liked them or whatever?
Only one.
Which one?
South Carolina, maybe?
South Carolina's not even in it.
It's not even in it.
He was trying to impress you.
I know.
That's so cute.
He has no idea what he's talking about.
That's funny.
So that's Magnus. Magnus is currently...
How is he looking in his bracket?
He's third.
Okay.
Out of four. Alicia is out, by the way. Alicia did something very interesting. Alicia picked Villanova to win it all because she went with the Spanish-sounding name.
Villanova.
She picked Villanova.
That is fantastic logic.
She had Gonzaga.
So every
San
time
Diego.
Valparaiso is in it, they must be going all the way. Right. Every time Valpo shows up in the tournament, Alicia's got him as a lead pipe lock for the Final Four.
And guess who, this is the way it always goes, is leading? Bill.
Yes.
Is in the lead. Guy who watches absolutely no college basketball
at all.
Zero.
Right. That is funny.
He's leading.
Speaking of college basketball, there's a story that you were talking about that you love, which sort of marries the two worlds that we live in between basketball and politics.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, that Flotus's brother is a college basketball coach. Update people on that story.
So Craig Robinson is the basketball coach, and he's got an okay record.
He's
okay?
a coach.
It's not great. He is a coach. And he's been doing this since the president was elected. I mean,
I feel like he got hired when he was running, right?
I think yes, that's exactly what happened.
He was a candidate,
because
yeah.
He's been a sort of a notable basketball coach. He introduced Michelle Obama at the Democratic National Convention.
Very famous story, by the way, of when they met and they first started dating. About how when Barack came back to the family, the sort of test was, let's see how the guy plays basketball, and not just in a skills competition, but like, what's this guy like on the court? Because everybody knows that there's that one dude who might be pretty good, but doesn't pass the ball, plays no defense. You know what I'm saying? Is constantly bitching about how he's not getting enough shots or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to play with that guy. It says a lot about your personality, how you play pickup basketball. So those two hit it off on that front immediately.
Yeah, which is a good character indication.
Absolutely.
So Craig Robinson's been the coach of Oregon State, and they don't have the best record. So Joel Anderson from BuzzFeed, who's been on this show, who is great, by the way. He's a great writer. He's on Twitter at BlackInk42. He wrote this story about how Craig Robinson hasn't had the best record in terms of wins and losses.
Sub 500, by the way.
Yeah, sub 500. But, number one, his sister is the first lady of the United States.
I think that's number 1 through 5, by the way.
So, like, if you have a losing basketball coach, what do you do when you've got a high-profile sibling like that? You can't just let the guy go. Like, that would be bad for optics. But what they do say, and I think this is very, very interesting in this piece, is that Craig Robinson doesn't focus as much, it doesn't sweat as much the wins and losses, but he really gets involved in his student athletes. And I know that, to make the case that, like, oh, these kids are student athletes, they should be studying more and working harder and all that is an old argument.
Old trope, yeah.
But I think that it's also very thinly covered up that these guys are there to play sports and not to learn.
Right.
And so Craig Robinson puts a lot of effort into the academics. He follows up with his players. He makes sure they go to class. He's checking in on their grades. He's a real hardliner.
The question is,
when it comes to academics.
Do you think that where's the chicken and the egg on that? You know what I'm saying? Like, if he wasn't Flotus's brother, and I don't mean like just in the context of who he is as a human individual, but do you think he might be able to run a little bit more of a renegade type of a program?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And get different kinds of players if he wasn't so closely connected to the president. Like, can you imagine if this guy was like John Calipari? You know what I mean? He was like, oh, yeah, screw it. We're trying to win here. I'm getting one and done. That would be, speaking of bad for optics, that would be awful for Flotus and the president, fairly or not.
Yeah.
If they've had some guy who was just a freewheeling dude who didn't care about anything other than winning basketball games, that would be a very awkward scenario.
I have a feeling that the White House has been has taken a very close look at Coach Robinson and make sure that, like, number one, he stays in that job.
Yeah, yes.
That he stays in that job. But that he has the type of legacy, he leads the type of program that is going to be scandal-free, is beyond any kind of reproach, and make sure that he represents the Obama brand.
Yeah.
In that field.
Because he's in a relatively far-flung outpost as far as college basketball is concerned. I mean, Oregon State is, they've had a couple of guys that went there that have made impacts in the pro, but that's not a powerhouse program by any stretch of the imagination. But you mentioned student athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And, you said the old argument about whether or not guys should be going to school or not more or what have you, or what they're in college for is sort of an old thing. But this newest news from the National Labor Relations Board in Chicago really could have sort of life-altering effects for a lot of different players. It is ruled that the football players at Northwestern University are employees of the university and can unionize.
That's fascinating to me.
I mean, to me, that discussion gets into a lot of different things about American labor, about what really scholastic and achievement is really about, what higher learning on a certain level is even about. And for it to happen in a place like Northwestern specifically, that is known as sort of a bastion of academics, where they don't, as a matter of fact, Craig Robinson is a guy I could see coaching basketball at Northwestern. I mean, it's that kind of situation. But so we're going to open up the phone lines here. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Do you view student athletes as employees? Is that a fair categorization of how they operate within the university system? Peter, what do you think?
I can be honest with you. I'm torn on this. Now, to be clear, I think that if you're a student athlete, you should have all the representation that you need. You need to make sure you have the conditions. I'm blanking on which school it was earlier this year that had those, the football team that had those conditions that were so bad. The black college.
Oh, it was Grambling.
Grambling.
Yeah.
They had so many problems with their football training facilities,
just
workout facilities.
Existing.
Horrible. They boycotted. They said, we're not going to play. You should have someone in place and some oversight to make sure that doesn't happen to you.
Yeah.
But the idea that you are an employee of the school.
Very different categorization entirely.
Yeah.
Not sure. We're going to get to it when we get back. 866-55-PRESS, 866-55-77377. Do you view student athletes as employees of the universities for which they attend? I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Bill Press. It is Thursday, March 27th. We will be back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, we'll get back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I got a couple of questions for you. First one, are you enjoying Free Speech TV? Well, I know the answer to that one. If you weren't, you wouldn't keep watching. We appreciate that. Good to have you with us. And the second question is, since you enjoy Free Speech TV so much, have you done your share to keep us on the air? Have you made your pledge? If so, we thank you because so many of you have. But if not, let's get on it. Do it today. It is so important. Look, again, I don't have to tell you how special Free Speech TV is. I'm very, very proud to be part of it. Less than a year right now. But it's the only place you can find such great hosts, Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman. I hope I'm one of them. And it's all content-free, no commercials, the only truly independent and progressive cable channel that is out there. You won't find it anywhere else. But the thing is, we depend on you. That's the only way we can stay on the air. We get no corporate money, no government money, no sponsor money, right? It is all from our viewers that keep us going. So we ask you to give us a call today, 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your pledge. And as a little reward for making your pledge, if you can do us this $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug. You can have your coffee with us every day, and a pound of coffee from Washington's favorite little coffee shop, which is right downstairs in our building. It's called Peregrine Coffee. If you can afford $20 a month, $240 pledge, you will get a very, very special treat from one of my favorite little businesses out in West Marin, California, West Marin County, from Cowgirl Creamery, a selection of their best cheeses. I think they're the best cheeses on the planet, and I've lived in Switzerland, so I know. Cowgirl Creamery for $240. For $360 or $30 a month, we'll send you the Cowgirl Creamery and a mug. And here's something very, very special. If you can do it and you can afford $1,000 for Free Speech TV, then make your way to Washington as a little special treat. I'll take you out to dinner with Carol, and we'll invite you and a guest in to watch the show the next morning here in our studio in downtown Washington, D.C. So those are just our ways of saying thank you ahead of time to you. Please do it. Please consider it today. And again, the number to call is 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org. We love bringing the show to you every morning, love being with you every day, and ask you to be with us by making your pledge as soon as you can and as generously as you can. Thank you so much.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates, filling in for Bill Press here on the Bill Press Show. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday. We're talking about college athletics and whether or not you view student athletes as employees of the universities that they work for. There was a recent labor ruling that the Northwestern football team would be allowed to unionize. And it's an interesting question. 866-55-PRESS. 866-5577-377. We're asking, do you view student athletes as employees of the school? Personally, I don't think that I do. I think that the problem is this, though, is that the whole construct within which the NCAA has created its world, it almost completely bastardizes the notion of what is and is not an employee. I mean, I almost feel bad because, look, are they working for the school in the context of their activities create money for people that are involved with the university? Absolutely, but to give you employee status, it just feels different to me.
I agree. So look, let's say I'm a star college football player, right? Let's just say that. I am making you, the university, a ton of money.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're going to call me an employee. So what are my obligations? Are my obligations to show up and play football for you? No.
No.
That's one of them.
Yeah,
But then I got all these other things I got to do.
Right.
So then, what kind of relationship do we really have here?
Yeah, it's something more complicated than employee. But it's trust me, don't get me wrong. I absolutely think that college players deserve to get paid for what they do.
Right.
But
you want me to be an employee, pay me for my services.
Right.
And I don't have to do any of this other crap.
Well, exactly. But it's a very sticky situation. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Johnson in Oconomowoc. I don't Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. How are you, Johnson? Glad you could join the program.
Well, I'm trying to stay dry. I just got done with the paper out, and it's been raining. About the Grambling case, you asked, well, who was supposed to take care of the Grambling athletes? Obviously, the NCAA has failed them, and so maybe they do need a union. And they need a union because the NCAA has failed them. And there's probably plenty of other student athletes out there like that. Last night.
Go ahead.
Last night, I thought they said that the Northwestern quarterback was alleging that he was working over 40 hours a week training on this, and yet there was some rule that said, well, athletes are only supposed to train 20 hours a week.
Yeah, no, thank you for the call. I appreciate that, Johnson. But let's be clear about something. The notion that you're only supposed to spend a certain amount of hours a week as a student athlete on athletics is totally bogus.
Yeah.
Anybody that's ever gone to college, never mind covered a college program or been a college athlete, knows that it is basically a year-round commitment, an all-day, all-the-time commitment. Sure, they can't just tell you what to do 24 hours of the day, but they can highly suggest the other things that you do and punish you if you don't do them.
Exactly. And just to clarify my position, I do think that there should be a union to look out for these guys.
Absolutely.
My problem is by calling these guys and gals employees of the university. If they're employees, then pay them.
Yeah.
Not pay them in scholarships or whatever. pay them.
Yeah, I mean it's true. I almost think that they're something sort of more than employees, if you
Yeah,
will. You know what I mean? They're giving a lot
absolutely.
more to the universities than just their time for them to make money. Victor in Merrimack, Wisconsin, how are you?
Good. Yourself?
Good, man. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great.
What do you think?
Headed home from work.
Awesome. What do you think?
What's that?
What do you think about this situation with student athletes as employees of the university?
I'm thinking if you're going to start calling them employees, then you got to start calling. A lot of students do a lot of research and make a lot of money for universities doing that. So then you're entering the realm of starting to call everybody an employee.
That's true. I mean, that's a good point. But I mean, I think it's a little different though because I hate to use this old trope, but nobody shows up to watch anybody in a science lab pour liquids into a beaker.
That's right.
It's not that that's not as important. I mean, it's just a different realm in terms of what it means to the country on some level. But I mean, I don't know that I consider that any lesser than of a thing. But come on, filling 100,000 stadiums is a completely different matter than breaking research in a lab, and it's not that it's more important. It's just that it's a different thing from a money standpoint.
Yeah, and you hit on this. Okay, they're employees, 40 hours a week. Anything over that, you will pay me overtime.
Yeah.
Okay, if they spend only 40 hours a week on travel, training, exercise, games, and studying,
right,
and going to class, then you are a terrible student athlete.
Exactly.
If you were
or
only
you're the smartest person on earth.
Right, exactly. You're
which
just
is
naturally gifted.
Unbelievable.
If that's all you spend, you're doing a bad job of it.
Exactly. Lisa in Asheville, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning. So if they're going to make them employees, are they going to get paid vacation and paid sick days and health insurance and maybe a 401k with a matching plan? What are some other benefits they're going to get as employees?
Take it up with the union.
Exactly.
Take it up with their new union.
As some people say, well, you get a free education. It doesn't quite work that way. I think a lot of people.
It doesn't work.
Thank you very much, Lisa, for the phone call. I think a lot of people have a very sort of basic misunderstanding about how scholarships in the NCAA operate. They are year-to-year contracts.
Yeah.
They are not guaranteed. They can dump them at any time. And again, if you've ever been around or close to any college athlete, you are dedicating almost everything in your life to that because it's the only way to really survive. You look at some of these football programs, guys get there and they pump them full of supplements and all sorts of other stuff. I mean, it is really, I don't know, it can be very sad on a certain level, the state of affairs in NCAA sports, but, it is what it is. This is America. This is what we love.
It's a good topic, though. I'm anxious to see how this plays out.
I'm Clinton Yates from the Washington Post. This is the Bill Press Show. Hey, happy to be filling in. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, we'll be back to the news and your commentary and your comments in just a moment. But first, let me just be very, very straight with you. We need your help. You know what Free Speech TV is all about? We're very, very lucky and very proud to be part of it. But it's the only place that you can find completely independent, unfettered, no restrictions, news and commentary from the left all day long, with no corporate money, no commercials, no government money. But without all of that, we depend on you. And we ask for your help and need your help this time of the year. By the way, it's a good time to make a contribution because you can take it off on your taxes. Don't forget that. We know you love free speech. If you didn't, you wouldn't be watching. But again, we can only stay on the air. The only source of funding we have is your help. So many of you have helped already. We thank you for that. And for those of you who haven't yet, you intend to do so, you just didn't get around to it, do it today. Call that number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org. freespeech.org. And make whatever pledge you can. Now, I hope you do it out of the goodness of your heart, but maybe just as a little extra incentive, we'll offer you a couple of special premiums. If you can pledge just $10 a month, $120 a year, we'll give you a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop, Peregrine, right down on the street level in this building. For $20 a month, $240 a year, very, very special. The best cheese in the world, take it from me, made out in Point Reyes Station, California, from Cowgirl Creamery. They're wonderful, wonderful people. Send you a Cowgirl Creamery a special item. And for $360 a year or $30 a month, you'll get the mug and the Cowgirl Creamery. Now, here's something very, very special. Those of you who can, make a very special pledge of $1,000 to Free Speech TV. You get your way to Washington. I've got a deal for you. Carol and I will take you and a guest out to dinner and then invite you here into the studio the next morning to watch the show with all of us. So whatever pushes your button, please be as generous as you can. And again, do it today at that number, 877-378-8669. Take advantage of that tax opportunity to get your tax contribution, and most importantly, to show your support and show your help for Free Speech TV. We are there with you and for you every single day of the week. We need you to be there for us this one special time of the year. Thanks for your help.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
How we doing, gang? This is Clinton Yates here, filling in for Bill Press. I'm a columnist of the Washington Post. I'm joined by Peter Ogburn.
Hey now.
And we are talking here with Isaac Dovere, senior White House reporter for Politico, on the line. Hello, Isaac.
Hi, Clinton. How are you?
I'm good. We want to get to a couple things right quick because I would like to talk about the fact that the White House the Obama administration is deciding to give extra time to Americans who say they're unable to enroll in the Affordable Care Act. We got some clips here from Jay Carney, who said what it was going to be like. He said that he thinks that more people will actually be signing up.
We expect there to be increasing numbers as the deadline approaches. That's true.
And he described what the experience is going to be like for those who do find themselves in the queue.
That's what we did in December, and it worked effectively. And it's very similar to what happens when you vote. If you're in line before the polls close, you get to vote.
So, Isaac, how well do you think the White House is doing with their message, and how is this do you think is going to play in the eyes of the public?
Well, look, and this is literally every single deadline for Obamacare, I think, at this point, has been extended or changed. That creates an impression in many minds of a system that is a little bit in trouble. It is certainly political fodder for all the people who are opposed to Obamacare. That said, for the White House, this is more proof to them that they're doing everything they can to get as many people enrolled and responding to the high demand. That's how they're trying to put this, that so many people are trying to sign up that they need to extend it, and it just shows there is such a desire for the benefits that come with signing up.
I mean, I'll say this, to me, personally, that's a good problem to have.
Right.
I mean, I don't necessarily know that you have to agree with every single thing that the Affordable Care Act is even about, but if people are looking to sign up, this would seem to be a pretty easy spin for the White House as a positive.
Well, that's certainly an argument to make. The issue that I think they face in terms of the logistics of it is that they had projected originally that 7 million people would sign up. It does not seem that they're going to get really close to 7 million. They're probably going to get over 6 million, which they're going to count as a victory. But it's not like this is demand that's way higher than what their initial projections were.
Right.
It's demand that is high, but that it seems like the system is actually not quite prepared to handle. That said, look, people always rush. It doesn't matter whether it's paying your credit card bill or getting something, getting your taxes postmarked. People wait for deadlines, and it seems like that this was all somewhat built into the thinking.
So my question is what this does for the repeal of Obamacare, which the House, have they lost their laser-like focus on getting that repealed?
They have tried to suggest that they're getting to some sort of other plan, repeal and replace, but the idea of repealing the president's plan continues to be very popular among Republicans. And you look at public polls, there have been public polls just in the last couple of weeks that show that there was one that said 47% of people were more likely to vote for a candidate if the candidate was talking about repeal. That's before the campaign has really begun in earnest. And so I don't think you're going to get Republicans back away from that argument.
I also find it, you mentioned the Republican plan that's coming out right on time, just as we celebrated the 4-year anniversary of the
and still hasn't come out.
And it still hasn't come out. There are
right.
there are rumors of a Republican plan coming out 4 years later, 4 years after the Affordable Care Act. I do find their sense of urgency to be lacking.
Speaking of which, John Boehner actually had something to say about this in terms of the entirety of the thing. Speaking of Republicans and their stance on this, let's go to that clip.
He hasn't put enough loopholes into the law already. The administration is now resorting to an honor system to enforce it. The hell is this, a joke?
I mean, what do you think of that criticism, Isaac? I mean, like, what do you think? I mean, do you think that is a fair sort of criticism of the White House at this point?
Everything about Obamacare is just so politically charged, and you get to a point where it's not even clear to people who are experts in this policy what is true or not true of the things that the Republican attacks have been trying to make about it, or even some of what the administration has been trying to say, where loopholes are built into every law, and it's hard to believe that a Republican plan to replace Obamacare wouldn't have a single loophole in it. So I don't know where we're actually at in terms of the factual nature of the debate at this point.
So the Pope is visiting with the president today, which has been a quite ceremonial display amongst a lot of different things. What do you think? I mean, what are to sort of the layman? What are Obama's goals in meeting with him this week?
Well, the meeting actually just finished a little bit about a half hour ago. Of course, they're in Rome, so they're a little bit ahead of us.
Right.
And look, the president has looked to the Pope and sort of invoked the Pope's name as a validator of sorts for his income inequality message that he's been talking about. When he launched the new focus on this back in December in a speech that he gave over in Southeast Washington, he talked about the Pope, and he said this line that the Pope had said of, how can it be news when the stock market drops 2 points, but not when an elderly homeless person dies of exposure. There is a feeling in the White House all the way down that they have this kindred spirit in the Pope, that they're excited by what he means and how he carries this message forward in a way that's beyond politics in their minds and just is about doing the right thing and also, by the way, getting the moral high ground in the argument. That's not what a lot of the leading Catholics in the country were hoping to hear the Pope and the President talk about. They were hoping for a lot more focus on the contraception mandate, which is the requirement that Catholic businesses or organizations pay under Obamacare for contraception. Obviously would violate their religious beliefs. And that's sort of the subject of that Hobby Lobby case that was in the front of the Supreme Court earlier this week. Those are the two main issues, but there was also thought of maybe they'd talk about immigration reform, maybe they'd talk about environmentalism even. There are other things that could have been part of the conversation. So far, like I said, the meeting just ended. We don't have the details of what was discussed. We have the details of some of their pleasantries that were exchanged.
The gifts exchanged.
And the gifts and that sort of thing.
A seed box.
Right. Where do you keep your seed box at your house, Isaac? I'm wondering.
I live on in an apartment on the 8th floor, so a seed box is really not the most useful thing for me to have.
I used to have a seed box.
I have a spice rack.
I used to have a seed box in college. I kept it in my sock drawer, and it kind of smelled like the teacher's lounge.
As liberal as the Pope is seen as being, I don't think that's the kind of seeds that the president brought up.
The Pope didn't join the Choom gang on this trip. It is. I mean, the Pope has definitely captured something. He's definitely captured a progressive spirit, and certainly with the income inequality stuff. That, frankly, I'm surprised it took the president this long to meet with the Pope after he started taking on this message. So it's interesting that they went there.
Well, I mean, but part of the reason may be because there is you can attach yourself to the Pope and all of the stuff that he's talking about, income inequality, but this is an uncomfortable situation politically for the president to talk about the contraception mandate. It was when in the re-election campaign, the attacks that he was under from the Catholics, from the Conference of Bishops, that led to really some very tense meetings with Cardinal Dolan in the Oval Office, were opened up this wound on Obamacare that was hard for them to get over, because just in the same way that the president was hoping that he could get some apolitical, beyond politics support for the income inequality message, the attacks on the contraception mandate, when they come from the Pope, especially if they end up coming from this Pope, and we don't know if they did yet, make it so that that's not an argument that's about Republicans pushing back on Obamacare. It's about the Catholic Church.
It's also a good reminder that, like I said, the Pope certainly captures something. He's certainly a progressive Pope, and he's pretty cool for a Pope.
Yeah.
I mean, he is still the Pope of the Catholic Church. It's not like he is Saul Alinsky all of a sudden.
And are people seriously expecting that the Pope is going to have some influence on the Supreme Court? I mean, is that a reasonable expectation on any level?
Well, I mean, I think what you'll see is a hope that he might have some influence in the discussion, but you never know. There are some of the prominent conservatives on the Supreme Court are Catholics. Antonin Scalia is a Catholic, very devout one. So who knows how these things end up going? Yeah. But it's with anything when you're trying to attach international politics to domestic politics, or politics from 200 years ago to where things are today. When you're trying to get a pope to match up to a political agenda, nobody is going to walk away from that totally satisfied.
All right. Well, senior White House reporter for Politico, Isaac Dovere. Don't lose your seed box this weekend, because you're going to need that once the weather gets warmer. Thank you for joining us, Isaac. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Bill Press here on The Bill Press Show. I'm a columnist for The Washington Post. Today's Thursday. See you soon.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help, because we wouldn't be here without you. You know, it's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? Well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery. For $360 or $30 a month, you'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those of you able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 to Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
And I'm Clinton Yates of the Washington Post here, filling in for Bill Press alongside Peter Ogburn.
Hey.
And so, Thursday, another day, another Secret Service controversy.
Yeah.
The guys in charge of keeping our most important person safe seem to have found themselves in a bit of a quagmire once again. Apparently, a situation went down in Amsterdam in which basically they were the ahead guys, if you will. They're the guys that go check out the scene before the president arrives. Of course, he was there, in town, talking about Ukraine and so forth. But they went out for a little bender the night before and got a little drunk, got a little sideways, as the kids like to say, and were found lying. One guy was found lying in his hotel room, and another guy was, I guess, in his hotel room, and he was passed out. So
one of them didn't even make it into his hotel room. He was found in the hallway.
First of all, you got to be pretty slammed in Amsterdam to not make it back into your hotel room. And as you said before, what is going on with your crew?
Terrible wingman.
Get your guy in the bed.
Horrible wingman.
I mean, that is rule one. Look, of all drinking nights. Get your bros home safe.
A lot of us have been there, right? You go on the road, right? You maybe go out partying,
right.
I, for one, what I do is when I get to a hotel, I make a note on my phone of what my room number is.
Absolutely.
Because you are damn sure I will forget it.
That, you know what? I had actually forgotten about that. Probably what went down.
Yeah.
Dude goes up to his floor.
That's a good point.
And says, you know what? And they're like, you're there. And then he pulls the total blank. And then he's like, oh dear. And then he says, you know what? I'm just going to lie down
right here.
Set an alarm, wake up. Never
I'll
woke
just crash
up.
here for 10 minutes just to
man.
get my bearings.
Such a bad look. But, Secret Service has had various problems in the last couple of years. There was that incident in Cartagena with the prostitution and so on and so forth. And the FBI director was talking about it. I believe this is from yesterday. Let's go to that clip.
Look, I run an organization of human beings. Human beings, as am I, are flawed, and there are going to be problems. I agree with you. The key is that we root them out, right, and try and put in place as remedies so we don't just repeat the same problem over and over again.
Human beings, not robots.
Right.
In case you were wondering who's operating the Secret Service. Not
Yeah, I
robots.
mean, look, I think we view the Secret Service as way up on a pedestal, right?
Right.
Like, these are the best of the best. These are the people who protect the President of the United States. Maybe we have unrealistic expectations of what they can do.
That could be.
But, I mean, look, if you're going to go travel abroad, and you're representing the United States of America, and you're in charge of protecting the safety of the most important job that we have in this country.
Don't drink.
Don't go get so...
I don't know.
Want to have a drink with your buddies? Okay,
Sure.
Cool. Want to go get blacked out, drunk,
Yeah.
and pass out in a hotel hallway?
I mean, to me, that's grounds for a fireable offense. I will tell one story, though, about my one run-in in my life with the Secret Service.
Okay.
High school soccer, we're on the bus going to Montgomery County, which, if you know anything about the D.C. area, is a county outside of D.C. where many rich folks like Peter Ogburn live. And so we're in the back of the van, and my buddy, whose name I won't name, puts up a sign that says, "Help, we've been kidnapped." Sort of an obvious joke because we're in a school van. We're all wearing our uniforms on the way to a game. Couple people see it out of the back. They laugh, whatever. One guy sees it, uniformed Secret Service officer, not joking at all, pulls around the van, cuts off the van, bangs on the door, waving his hand around. "Are you all being kidnapped?" We're all sort of laughing. He's like, "This is not a joke." Finally, our coach turns around and he's like, "Listen, we're not having this kind of horseplay on my bus. You three guys, you're not playing in this game." It's like the three guys, meaning me and my two boys in the back of the bus. And we're thinking, oh, dagger, this is a terrible idea.
Oh, no.
Guy leaves, closes the van doors. We pull off. The guy finally passes us. Coach turns around. He goes, "Hey, listen, you guys are definitely playing, and that was awesome." We all had a good laugh about it, and it was really a funny situation. But that's thankfully the only encounter I've had with Secret Service. But maybe if I go on a trip sometime soon, I'll see a guy at a bar.
Yeah,
You never know.
exactly.
So, anyway, that's Secret Service. Get it together. It's a bad look for you, and it's a bad look for the country. God forbid anything bad actually happen. But that's just me. I'm Clinton Yates. I'm a columnist for the Washington Post. This is the Bill Press Show. We will be back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
And I'm Clinton Yates of the Washington Post, filling in for Bill Press here. So, Peter, let's talk about what the president's doing today.
Yeah.
He's, of course, in Italy. He's been meeting with the Pope all morning. We've actually been talking about it for quite a bit of the morning. Let's see. So later, he'll be in Rome meeting with President Giorgio Napolitano of Italy. Guy whose name we both just learned about 45 seconds ago.
I'm embarrassed to admit I didn't know that was the president of Italy. I'm sorry.
Definitely did not know that. Later, he's going to Villa Madama. If I'm pronouncing this terribly, I apologize. I do not speak Italian. That's just the reality of the circumstance.
I'm not going to hold it against you.
Sidebar, he's going. Sorry, let's not get ahead of ourselves. He's going to a working lunch with Giorgio Napolitano. I mean, as far as menus go, that's got to be pretty high up there on things you would enjoy having a working lunch for.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the
a working lunch in Italy.
Oh,
pretty solid.
Gotta have a nap after that, I would presume, because that, I mean, be a lot of fun. But after that, he's going to meet with Prime Minister Matteo Renzi. This is also happening at this Villa Madama in Rome. And then, and this is the part that we both care about, he's going to tour the Colosseum.
I'm stoked about that.
Have you ever been to the Colosseum?
No.
I have not either.
I'd love to go.
I would love to go. And I wonder, this is one of those situations where you say, what is the actual photo op going to look like? You know what I'm saying? Does he go with some sort of gladiator pose? Does he try to get a little loose with it, pull a Biden, or is it just a very serious look at sort of what happened there? It'll be interesting to see. But
he should go full Biden.
I think you got to.
Second term, baby.
I think you got to. Why not? Right? Yeah. You're not campaigning for anybody. But that's the president's schedule for the day. So hope he eats well. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Bill Press. We'll be back soon. It's Thursday.
This is The Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went it further. We had entered the age of the isms. Cubism, symbolism, futurism, constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Krutikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, Clinton Yates here from the Washington Post. Thank you for joining us here on the Bill Press Show. I'm obviously not Bill. I'm filling in for him. Where is Bill? Do we know? I'm kidding. That doesn't matter. I hope he's enjoying his time, wherever you may be, Bill, and I hope you're listening. If you're not, alas.
I'll put it this way. He's in a nicer area than we are in right now for weather.
Oh, God. Don't get me started. I had to write a column about that. The snow in D.C. and on the East Coast.
Get out of here.
I am beyond over it.
Yeah.
Beyond over it. It's been a lot of extreme weariness in that regard. But anyway, Lisa Murphy is running the board. Hello, Lisa.
Good morning.
Alicia Cruz is on the phones. If you call us up at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Alicia Cruz, also our NCAA brackets expert this year. Cyprian Bolding is our videographer, and if you look at his work, you can see my Big East Conference t-shirt. It's my favorite basketball conference in the world. It doesn't really exist as it used to anymore, alas. You can watch us on DirecTV and Dish Network on Free Speech TV, or you can check us out at youtube.com/TawkrTV. You can also listen to the show on the iHeartRadio app using the Progressive Voices channel. We're also on Facebook. I happen to also be on Twitter at Clinton Yates. Those are the particulars. We got a lot to get to this segment, but first.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news for when you absolutely positively must give yourself a hangover. Jack Daniels is here to help. They announced a new product coming out in time for spring. It is Jack Daniels Cherry Limeade flavor whiskey.
Ugh.
Man.
Right?
Who's going to drink that?
It's not okay.
Wow.
It's not okay, people, to drink that. Do not drink that. I can promise you right now, with all of
you know what? That screams of the sort of weird family member at the 4th of July meet who's maybe a bit of an alcoholic but doesn't kind of want to admit it and always has new booze, and you're like, what are you even doing drinking that?
Are you running a tequila and you're like, I still want a daiquiri?
I don't think I'd even drink that if I was in college. I drank some horrible concoctions. I don't know that sounds good to me, even as a very thirsty college student.
Not exactly very appealing.
It was a rough and tumble game last night. The Miami Heat and the Indiana Pacers, two powerhouse basketball teams, but in the end, Pacers came out on top. They beat the Heat last night in a game that saw LeBron James have to take a cotton swab to his nose after catching an elbow to the face. Dwayne Wade had to ice his hamstring during the game. Roy Hibbert finished the game. He took an elbow to the head that left him so groggy he didn't even remember getting hit. I think we can say this is the most contentious rivalry in the NBA.
Absolutely. I mean, these two teams, they face up in the Eastern Conference Finals. It is going to be a battle. I'm looking forward to it. And I think a lot of people, I don't necessarily say that they're rooting for the Pacers because they don't want to see the Heat win, but the Pacers play a good brand of basketball.
Yeah.
They are fun to watch. And I think that the resurgence of that franchise after what happened with the whole, Malice at the Palace, all that, it's good to see them back in a place where their fans like rooting for them. They got a lot of good guys on that team, and they're good.
Yes.
That's the other thing about it. The Pacers are one heck of a franchise, and I'm looking forward to their run through the playoffs in the NBA.
Same. And everything that is old is new again. Yesterday, Sean Combs, better known as P. Diddy, put out a new video, and on the video, he refers to himself as Puff Daddy.
Oh, the original.
It's
now, he
comeback.
started as Puff Daddy, then it became P. Diddy, then it became just Diddy, and now it's gone back to Puff
not
Daddy.
Your father is Puff Daddy.
Not your father's Puff Daddy.
Puff Daddy,
That's the way to put it.
The character I originally admired as a young man for his entrepreneurialism and his bodaciousness and his braggadociousness. But I like Puff. I am a lifelong defender of that guy.
He put out a tweet, by the way, yesterday. He said, "For the record, I did not change my name. I always have been and always will be Puff Daddy."
Of course.
Tweeting from his Twitter handle, which is I am Diddy, by the way. So,
hey,
just saying.
That's Diddy logic.
I know.
That's the multitude of things that he presents to you.
There you go.
All right.
Breaking news.
Well, enough of that. We are going to go to somebody probably a little smarter than, let's say, Puff Daddy on a lot of these different things. We're talking with Think Progress's economic policy editor, Bryce Covert. How are you, Bryce?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for waking up with us this morning. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So, one of your last stories is a story that, quite frankly, incenses me, not because of what you wrote, but because of the topic at hand, which is about welfare recipients in California losing all sorts of money in fees to access their benefits. To those who don't really understand what this system is about in terms of the cards, can you just break that down for us, basically, to start?
Yeah, so the federal government passed a law a little while ago that required all food stamp benefits go onto cards instead of actually stamps. And a lot of states then decided to do the same thing with welfare benefits, California being one of them. And it may sound like it's more convenient, and in some ways it could be, to use a card. A lot of us like using cards instead of cash. But the problem for welfare recipients is that they come with a lot of fees. The cards themselves give you a certain number of free cash withdrawals. And remember, this is benefits that they are owed. So they get 4 times a month that they can withdraw for free, but then after that they have to pay just to get their own money. And then on top of that, a lot of banks are charging them fees just to use that ATM that the bank is providing. And all told, the people who are getting these benefits on cards are losing about $19 million a year just to fees. That's a huge amount, particularly when the checks that they're getting each month are only about $500. If you're losing a significant portion of that to fees, it's really going to be a big impact on you.
So, for those of you who don't necessarily, short version, this is how the rich stay richer. Not only do you prevent people from necessarily being able to have economic opportunity, you charge them for getting their money. I personally find that just, I don't know about you, Peter, but to me, that's one of those things that just as an American, forget about what side of the aisle you are on, is rather sickening. How do you think that this is, how do you think that this, is there any solution to this? I mean, where does this stand in terms of where you go from here in California?
Well, one thing is that people can be made more aware of the fact that they actually have a right to not get their money through the cards. They can have it direct deposited to their bank account. The challenge with that is that a lot of low-income people either don't have bank accounts because they don't have enough money to open one up, or they've been burned by fees in the past and just don't want to have to deal with it. So the people who put out the report basically say there are ways to reduce these fees. Just let them have more free withdrawals, make the fees more upfront so that people don't run into them. Have more consumer protections. It's also, on our credit cards, if your credit card gets stolen, someone spends a bunch of money with it, usually you can be reimbursed, but that's not true for people with welfare money on their benefit cards. So there's a lot of ways that we could improve this system. But clearly, it's troubling that so much money is being lost just to fees.
Yeah, and I'll say this as well. It's also very troubling the fact that there are not policies in place that prevent this from even being an option. To think that banks are taking advantage of people like this, to me, is just sort of preposterous. Beyond the it's one thing for people to be ill-informed. It's another thing for people to not necessarily make the right choices. It's a third thing, though, I think, for financial institutions to be basically taking advantage of people simply because they can. That is very distressing to me, frankly, as an American.
And it's lucrative for them. Xerox, who has the contract to administer the fees in California, is making $69 million off of it. J.P. Morgan is one of the larger people who administer the SNAP cards, the food stamp cards, and they make quite a lot of money off of that. And a lot of it is through charging these fees and also just being paid by states to run them. So, it's this lucrative way of making money off of people who are the most vulnerable among us.
That's the scariest part, because it's just like, to make the comparison to the airlines, right? The airlines have seen what they can get away with charging people. They're not going to go back. Yeah. And so when you look at how much these banks can make, they'll find a way. Right. I mean, it's sick.
This is how they operate.
Yeah, unless, of course, we put some rules in place that say that you can't charge all of these fees for people who are just trying to get access to the money that they're owed.
Right. Well, let's switch gears a little bit here. I want to talk about another situation that's happening in Charlotte. Charlotte's not actually had the best week, considering what's going on with their mayor. But there's a story that Think Progress did here, which the headline reads plainly, "It saves millions to simply give homeless people a place to live." Now, what this program entailed was effectively, through grants and other things, giving homeless people apartments, places where they could live long term. A lot of people don't necessarily view this as a solution. We could get all into that. But what people don't realize is that it actually saves cities money on a very basic level. How does that work, Bryce?
It saves them a lot of money. Charlotte has this apartment complex called Moore Place that has 85 units. So it's just 85 homes, and yet it has saved taxpayers $1.8 million. And that's because the people who live there, this apartment complex is geared towards the homeless. They pay about 30% of their income, and then the rest is through grants and things. They visited the emergency room 447 fewer times, and then they also were arrested a lot fewer times. The number of arrests dropped by 78%. And that's because, A lot of arrests for homeless people are because they're in public spaces or just sort of running afoul of these laws that make it tough to be someone who doesn't have a home. And when they're outdoors and in the elements, that's really tough on their health. They have a lot of health problems. They're very likely to need the emergency room, which is very costly for taxpayers. You give someone a place to live, to be indoors, to get a little bit more stable. They don't need to rely on that service as much. And the results are pretty clear. We've seen similar things happen in other places. Colorado had a former prison converted into a homeless shelter, and it cost just a little over $16,000 per person to give people housing there, which is
how much?
Half the cost of leaving them on the streets.
How much is it?
It's $16,813 per person.
Okay, got it.
Versus over $43,000 if you leave them on the streets and they have to run afoul of the law or they need emergency room care.
Psychologically, let's think about that. What kind of a state we're in the country where turning a jail into a homeless apartment complex turns out to actually be beneficial? That should teach you something about what is a more sensible way to deal with human beings, which is to give them opportunity rather than throwing them in a cage. That's just
what
a personal
big picture analogy, man.
How could it be? It's amazing. What do you think that this study and this situation in Charlotte will show for other places that are looking to sort out their own sort of homeless policies?
Well, I think that the numbers are just really, really stark. Like in Colorado, it's less than half the cost to give someone a place to live. And it seems like a much more humane way to deal with the problem, I think, to anyone looking at the situation. It's a win for the taxpayers, and it's a win for the people who get to have housing. And I think a lot of people are wary about are there other things that are going into the fact that they're homeless? What happens to them once they're in these apartments? In Moore Place, the place in Charlotte, only 15 tenants out of those 85 have gotten in any trouble. So, that has not been a really big issue. And also there's this movement called Housing First that really thinks that if you give people housing first before dealing with any other problems facing them, it makes them much more likely to be successful when they're trying to deal with the other things in their lives. Perhaps mental illness, trying to get a job, trying to get on their feet. If you have a place to live, those things are so much more, it's so much easier to get all the other pieces of your life together. And so not only does it save taxpayer money, but it also gives them a much better chance of, getting back to work and getting back to their lives.
I think that people are seeing more and more that by making the smaller investment in a long-term setup, as opposed to ignoring the problem
or at blaming the victim of what it is other societal ills are,
ignoring the issue and putting it back on somebody else. I think that the American people are starting to see that more and more. I wonder how the politicians see it, because they're the ones who make these things happen.
Yeah, I think that a lot of politicians seem to have a very tough love mentality, particularly when it comes to homeless people, and sort of this idea that you want to clean up downtowns, which tends to mean just sort of pushing homeless people out, putting them in jail. But it really is just sort of sweeping the problem under the rug, and you're going to end up exacerbating it. If you leave people outside, they're not getting any better leg up on getting a more stable life. And as these numbers show, if you're just jailing them or putting them in the emergency room, it is very expensive. So you're not actually really helping yourself to improve your downtown, to improve your cities or your county's finances or anything like that by just ignoring homeless people and hoping that they'll go away.
Her name is Bryce Covert. You can follow her on Twitter at Bryce Covert. She is the economic policy editor for Think Progress. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Bill Press. Today's Thursday. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
What's up, kiddos? It's me, Clinton Yates, the Washington Post, filling in for Bill Press here on the program. I got Peter Ogburn to my right.
Hey now.
How are you all doing this morning is the question. The answer is hopefully better because I am here. Not that Bill is any different, but, you know, it's fun for me to be here.
Happy to have you in, man.
Thank you. Glad to be here. So, Dateline, Conway, Arkansas. Headline, Mom jailed for breastfeeding while drinking. Waitress fired over it.
Mm-hmm.
Lot to dig into on this, but let's just break down the particulars of what happened. Apparently, there's a woman who's been thrown in jail and charged with endangering the welfare of a child after she was breastfeeding her baby while drinking, which she claims didn't know was illegal. Now, there's a couple of questions here. First of all, this happened in public.
Yeah.
And it was also apparently after the funeral of a family friend.
Yes.
Which makes this sort of doubly weird because there's a grievance factor thrown in the middle of this, which kind of makes things a little bit uncomfortable. But basically, she was at a restaurant she popped by a restaurant after a funeral and decided she was going to breastfeed, and then apparently had a beer, then apparently had another one, but then a waitress saw it and reported her. And there was some question as to whether or not this was going to be allowed or just what. But here's the thing. The threshold for drinking while breastfeeding should not be the law.
Yeah.
It should be a health concern here.
Right.
And I don't know or if it should be illegal, but I would like to think that most people would know, hey, I'm not going to drink while breastfeeding because, alcohol is a toxin.
Here's the deal. You should, for a long time, right? Doctor said if you're going to drink, you need to pump ahead of time, right? Which is what we went through with our kids, all right?
Uh-huh.
There's going to be more time than I've spent talking about my wife's breasts than I have ever on the show. They're magnificent, and they give life-giving force to our two children when they were babies. And so whenever my wife was going to go out partying or whatever, we knew we were going to go out to dinner and we were going to have a couple of drinks.
Right.
We would pump. We would pump.
Air quotes.
Right. She would pump.
Right.
And then we'd have a stock of the breast milk, right? So it's not a good idea to go out and drink beer in public when you're breastfeeding a baby. Should you go to jail for it?
Probably not.
Probably not.
But she said, basically, this is the last quote of hers, "I'll say it till the day I die. I was sober enough to breastfeed my kid." Yikes.
Conversely, I've been drunk enough to try to breastfeed my kid. So we would make a good match, me and this lady.
All right, I'm Clint Yates filling in for Bill Press. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer. This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies? I can forget to do a list for us. Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
How we doing, folks? Clinton Yates here, filling in for Bill Press. It is Thursday, March 27th. That first voice you heard was that of Huffington Post politics reporter Laura Bassett, who just got her coffee. She is in studio with us. If you're watching us on YouTube at TawkrTV, of course, Peter Ogburn is here.
Hello.
How are you, Laura?
I'm great. I just got my coffee, so I'm all right.
That's good to hear.
Thanks for having me.
So, if you've been hanging around the districts, you're very welcome. If you've been hanging around the district recently, you probably noticed that outside of the Supreme Court, in this terrifying weather that we've been dealing with for quite some time, nearly 5 months, a lot of signs out there. This is a church. This is not a church, rather. You know what I mean? This is a craft store. Signs about staying out of my bedroom, and so on and so forth, because the Supreme Court is dealing with this Hobby Lobby case and providing contraceptive care in their health insurance. Lay this out for me. Explain to me what the situation is.
Well, I actually got to cover oral arguments at the Supreme Court earlier this week. It was really exciting. The case is about whether a for-profit company like Hobby Lobby can religiously object to providing birth control for its female employees, because it believes that some forms of birth control are abortion. 4 of them out of the 20 that it's supposed to cover under the Affordable Care Act. So there's really 2 questions that they were struggling with. One, can a company exercise religion at all? And 2, whether the government has a compelling interest in making sure that women get birth control at no cost.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is about as hotbed a topic as things get, quite frankly. I mean, not a lot of people in this personal area might necessarily know Hobby Lobby, but is a very popular brand otherwise. And I'll say this, as far as I'm concerned, Hobby Lobby is dead wrong on this. I mean, I don't know how you can, to me, the notion that reproductive rights have to do with religious freedom is just a bogus construct altogether that simply eliminates, the human choice of existence from reality. And I'm not sure that you can connect the 2 things. I mean, maybe there was a time when you could do that, but I mean, come on. The world is way too modernized for people not to understand, hello, they're separate issues at best.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like an argument from out of the 50s or out of the 60s, like employers trying to cherry pick what kind of coverage the women they employ get because they disagree with birth control, which is, 98% of reproductive age women use it, I mean, it's just completely non-controversial. But the Supreme Court is taking this seriously, and a lot of people think that they're leaning towards siding with Hobby Lobby, which is pretty incredible.
To be perfectly honest, I'm having a really hard time getting past the fact that this is a national chain that's called Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
It's called Hobby Lobby.
It is a pretty ridiculous.
This is not a real name.
Right.
It sounds like a joke.
So you said people think that the Supreme Court is leaning toward. I mean, what makes people think that?
Well, so having been at the oral arguments, there's obviously 4 liberal judges, 4 more conservative judges, and their positions were pretty obvious. The 3 female justices really went hard after Hobby Lobby's lawyers. They teamed up hard against him, and it was kind of interesting to watch. And they were saying things like, if you're allowed to object to covering birth control, what else could you object to? Do you want to? What if you don't want to cover blood transfusions? What if you don't want to comply with vaccination requirements? Or beyond that, what if you don't want to serve LGBT people?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to bring that up.
Right.
I mean, if you have a gay or LGBT employee, I mean, you could lean back on that crutch.
Right.
Well, and the law came up in Arizona, and they passed that law that said businesses don't have to serve LGBT people based on religious freedom, and people freaked out about that because it's a license to discriminate. But people aren't freaking out the same way over this Hobby Lobby thing, which essentially would open the door to more anti-gay laws like the one in Arizona.
And I can tell you this: that's probably because people don't necessarily view things that specifically relate to women as importantly as they should, which is a whole other societal
considering
issue.
We're more than half of the population.
And considering this is simply a human responsibility. This is the other thing. People seem to act as if things that cover reproductive rights and contraception issues for women are only issues of women. No, that's not really how it works. It takes 2 people to bring a person into the world, but it definitely doesn't happen, without women. That's sort of how anatomies work. So when you try to sort of make this argument that it's just a women's issue, no, it's an issue of how the human race is allowed to grow and proliferate, and it's pretty basic if you really get down to it.
Right. But the other side does have some strong arguments, and Justice Kennedy is going to be the swing vote here, and he kind of grilled both sides really hard. But when the administration's lawyer came up, he was saying, suppose Congress passed a law that said all employers had to cover abortion at no cost to the woman. A lot more people would object to that, right? That would be a much more controversial thing to make them cover. And he asked the lawyer, would it be okay would it be okay for Hobby Lobby to object to that if they had to cover abortion? And he was kind of hedging and saying, oh, that's a difficult question. And Alito jumped in and said, well, that is what is happening here in their minds, because they really sincerely believe that these 4 forms of birth control, IUDs, emergency contraception, they believe that's abortion. So essentially, in their minds, the government is forcing them to cover abortion. So you can kind of, see. It seemed like the justices were leaning towards Hobby Lobby's side on that particular argument.
Right. Not going to lie. I'm not buying that. I mean, I'm not buying that Hobby Lobby actually believes that. I'm buying that they want to make this an issue because of their, philosophical beliefs, but the science behind that, I just can't legitimately take seriously. You wrote recently about this poll that women strongly opposed the birth control case. Could you break down sort of how that went in terms of what people actually think, or women think, rather?
Yeah. More than 2/3 of women strongly disagree with Hobby Lobby. And we're talking about Democrats, Republicans, Catholics, women of all demographics disagree with Hobby Lobby and think that the government should provide birth control along with all the other preventative services that health insurance covers.
Right. Pardon my ignorance on this, but are these the kind of things that the Supreme Court takes into consideration? What the public thinks about stuff? I mean, or is this strictly in a vacuum of what is presented there? I mean, how does that work in terms of the way oral arguments and all that proceed?
It's pretty clear that public opinion doesn't factor in the Supreme Court's decisions, but I will say Kennedy brought up, what about the women? What about if the 26,000 employees who are employed by Hobby Lobby disagree with Hobby Lobby's religious beliefs and have different religious beliefs about contraception? Should all of those thousands of women be denied contraception because of their employer's religious beliefs? So he did kind of seem to take the women into account, but
thanks.
Right,
Appreciate that.
But in terms of public opinion, no, I don't think it'll seep in at all.
What's it like, the Supreme Court?
It's really intense.
Just the thought of it terrifying.
Well, yeah, it's called the Supreme Court. It's pretty big deal.
It's crazy. It was my first oral argument I'd ever covered, and I kind of assumed it was going to be more like a courtroom where the first lawyer gets up and delivers his opening statement, and it's dramatic, and he's got this southern drawl,
Matthew
like how you see in movies. I'm picturing Matthew McConaughey. But he did. The first lawyer didn't even get through his first sentence before the Supreme Court justices just jumped on him, and they interrupted every other word. He barely got to speak. I mean, it was just like crossfire. It was
really?
Crazy. Yeah.
Was Clarence Thomas awake?
No, I don't think so.
No, wow.
He was the
Interesting
only
enough.
one whose voice I did not hear ever.
Right. That's
He
his,
doesn't say much.
that's his MO.
He doesn't say much.
That is his MO. I can't imagine going to the Supreme Court. It's like a weirdly shaped room, right? Like it's like it's not. I mean, not that.
I'd
not like
never
it's
make it into the
Not like
Supreme
it's an
Court.
egg room.
They wouldn't
but
let me in.
Like the way it looks.
They'd take one look at me.
Somebody took like a cell phone picture in there like 2 months ago, and it
Really?
was like the
You're
first
not
picture.
supposed to
I
allow
know,
cell
right? And it was like the
phones.
first picture anybody had taken in there in 100 years because that old footage got leaked a couple months ago.
Oh,
where like
wow.
there was like movie footage.
Now I
but-
want to see it.
Interesting. Because we, as a reporter, we weren't allowed to bring in a recorder or any kind of electronics. We had a pen and a pad. And trying to scribble down their quotes, like to get them for a story with like handwriting, is just
Can
really.
you explain to us what a pen and a pad is?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again,
I'm a little lost.
we talked.
There's ink, there's paper, you use it.
We talked about how this seems like a discussion out of the 50s. And then you fast forward and say, oh, guess what? The Supreme Court doesn't allow cameras or recorders. You're like,
It felt like a time machine.
Right. I mean, and that's to tell you something about America. You know, wow, kind of ridiculous. But we're here with Huffington Post politics reporter Laura Bassett. Of course, I'm Clinton Yates filling in for Bill Press. Excuse me. Today's Thursday. We're going to be back, and she'll still be here. So let's see if I'll still be here. Anyway, see you in a second.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
And I am Clinton Yates of the Washington Post. Thank you all for joining us here on Thursday. Got a couple people in studio with me. One is Peter Ogburn, executive producer of this show.
And out.
The other is Laura Bassett, Huffington Post politics reporter. How are you?
I'm great.
So, we've been talking about the Hobby Lobby situation. Came upon, every once in a while we like to do show research here, and we, put together all the sort of big news sources and all the stories, and we came across one that, an older one that we had forgotten about, which is the very reputable news source, which is The Onion.
Yeah.
Which is probably the best. I mean, this is one of the most hardcore, in-depth breakdowns of this story you'll probably see from across the country. Peter, take it away.
Headline: Washington's Hobby Lobby lobbies to strengthen hobbies. Quote, we'll lobby for hobbies all the way to Abu Dhabi, says lobby rep Robbie Stabby. This is from August 2013 in The Onion. It's so good.
Let's not forget about Robbie Stabby's wife.
Yeah, he started out, my name is Robbie Stabby. I'm here to lobby for hobbies, said Stabby from the congressional lobby, accompanied by his wife, Elise Tabby Stabby. This snobby Congress needs to quit being knobby and recognize the Hobby Lobby. So there's the
to me, that's
the hashtag analysis.
That's the analysis you get
for.
here on the Bill Press Show every single day of the week. It's just great how it is. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Kate in Chicago, what do you think about this Hobby Lobby situation? Not in Abu Dhabi, but at the Supreme Court. Oh, sorry, Rick in Madison. Pardon me. Rick, what's going on?
My concern is, doesn't this open the door for other faiths to dictate insurance coverage?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and that's exactly what the Obama administration's lawyer brought up, and what the female Supreme Court justices brought up is how many things could you religiously object to if you can object to birth control, as I said, blood transfusions, vaccinations, and then beyond healthcare, minimum wage laws, Social Security taxes, family leave laws. All of these things have been challenged on a religious freedom basis in the past, so it really is a slippery slope.
Right. And it's also based on just Christianity.
Yeah.
So, in some ways, there would be some sort of admission that is what? The national religion?
Yeah, right.
I'm not so sure that the same group would be okay with a Muslim company making laws and running their business based on Muslim law.
I absolutely agree. I mean, you can't just sort of randomly just say that, that makes more sense than everything else because there happen to be more Christians in this nation. I mean, that's bogus on a very basic level. I thought we were going ladies first here, so that's why I went to Kate. Pardon me. Kate in Chicago, how are you? Thanks for joining the Bill Press Show.
Thanks for having me. My question is, what does Hobby Lobby do for maternity leave? They're already women unfriendly, and they don't want to cover birth control, but do they have a good maternity leave policy? That would be my question, is what are the rest of their policies? Because, they're focusing on one aspect of pregnancy, which is kind of ridiculous. So
it should depend on if they're married or not, or if they're having a baby out of sin.
Exactly. Thank you, Kate, for the phone call.
The employer gets to decide based on the woman's morality what kind of coverage she gets. And
exactly.
I just also want to take a moment to point out that Hobby Lobby, until now, previously did cover contraception, and they didn't even realize it. And then when the Affordable Care Act came out, they went and looked back at their plan, realized they were covering contraception, dropped that coverage, and then sued over it.
Right, of course. I mean, I think at this point, too, the public relations hit that Hobby Lobby is taking here has to be massive. I mean, because, like you said about that poll, you don't necessarily have to be some sort of fundamentalist or whatever in order to believe that you shouldn't cover this. And if most people believe that, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know that I'm going to be doing any shopping at Hobby Lobby anytime soon. I mean, considering it's just a very weird stance to take, especially considering they covered it already. And I don't know. I mean, these are sort of things that, as a man, it really makes me mad because, again, there's just so much sort of mansplaining that goes on here where you think that people need to explain stuff. It's just it's not cool.
It's a good point about taking your dollars elsewhere too. As for me and my family, we'll buy our airplane glue somewhere else.
Right. Exactly. 866-55-PRESS is the phone number. Paul in Dayton. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing great, guys. Good morning.
Dayton Flyers, by the way.
What I'd like to talk about is this incredible hypocrisy that I just don't understand why the media isn't illuminating. Every single item sold in a Hobby Lobby store is made in China. Excuse me, but the last time I checked, China has forced abortions. So it's okay to sell their product, but I don't want to give health care to my own employees. I just find the hypocrisy amazing.
All right, thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. I find that link a little bit specious, but I mean, I see what he's saying. You know what I mean? It's a bit of a jump there, but
I know, but the point is, we do all kinds of things. I mean, it's to pick out birth control as the one thing you object to. We all pay taxes to a lot of people morally oppose drone strikes, and we pay taxes to a country that that funds. I mean, there's all kinds of things in a government that you're going to object to, and at some point you just have to, do what the government has decided is right for the country.
So when are you going back to the Supreme Court?
Good. I guess when they come down with a decision.
Yeah. Is there any sort of timetable for that? Do you have any idea? I mean, just from your own experience. I mean, how long do you think this is going to go on?
I would expect a few months. May, June.
Who was the representing the United States? Was it Donald Verrilli again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
right. Yeah.
Donald Verrilli. How did he do? Because I remember when he first went up, was it Obamacare?
Yeah, he struggled.
Stumbled and mumbled.
Yeah, it didn't go so well.
He didn't stumble and mumble in this one. He was really smooth. But they gave him a really hard time. They grilled him. I mean, just like the Hobby Lobby lawyer, he didn't get to finish his sentence ever. So.
All right. You can follow her on Twitter at L.E. Bassett. She's the Huffington Post politics reporter, Laura Bassett. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having
me. You got your coffee.
I've got it now. I'm all right.
I'm Clinton Yates. I work for the Washington Post. This is the Bill Press Show. We'll be right back. Close.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, do you realize that heart disease kills more Americans every year than all forms of cancer combined? So when you donate to the American Heart Association, you're contributing to life-saving research with every dollar. You can make your donation today through the Pop Money personal payment service. All you do is download the app or go online to popmoney.com. Sign up to send your donation to jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Here's the best part. The 95-cent fee is assessed to you, the sender, regardless of how much money you contribute. That means that 100% of your donation goes to support the ongoing research to help save lives across America. No fees are paid by the American Heart Association, getting more bang for your buck. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
And I am Clinton Yates of the Washington Post, filling in for Bill here on this Thursday, March 27th. Wrapping things up here, so we're going to stay semi-local. The Obelisk, as I like to call it, is reopening on May 12th. You remember what put that bad boy out of commission?
Yeah, that earthquake.
You remember that earthquake?
I do remember it very well.
What were you doing during that earthquake?
I'll tell you what I was doing during that earthquake.
I tell you what?
Let me tell you something. I'll tell you where I was. No, I was out on a run, and I had stopped near my neighborhood, like near my house, and I was sitting on the side of a hill that was looking down onto the swimming pool.
Onto your kingdom?
That's looking down upon all, looking at all that is mine.
Right.
Like looking down at the neighborhood swimming pool, right? Because it was warmish out. And I remember sitting on the ground. I remember feeling it. And looking down at the swimming pool and seeing this water slosh out of this in-ground swimming pool. And I was going, what the hell is happening? What is happening?
They're coming for us.
Yes, exactly.
I was in the Washington Post newsroom at the time.
Oh, man.
And it was one of those deals where, they say, all right, you know what you're supposed to do, and you say, oh yeah, get on whatever you're taught to do. If you're not living in California or from California, you don't do that when an actual earthquake hits. You know what you do? You bolt for the stairs, which is the absolute wrong move, but it's absolutely what every single person did, because here's the way it went down. If you were downtown, depending on sort of what kind of a building you were in, it sounded like an explosion. I mean, it was as loud as anything I'd ever heard.
It was loud.
And it's not that I automatically assumed that there was some sort of terrorist attack, but the point was, like, whatever has blown up, be it in an accident, be it an intentional act, something is coming down.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's close.
And then after that, right, and it's close. And then after that, the shaking started. Yeah. And it was like, oh, I got to go. And so downtown that day was one of the most interesting days ever, because there were people that were legitimately freaked out.
Oh, yeah.
Like sitting on the side of the road who didn't want to go back into their office buildings. There were a couple of different questions as to whether or not we should do that. But the point is here, the monument is reopening.
And let's just say, by the way, to our Los Angeles viewers, yes, we know that you get worse earthquakes than we had.
Well, to be fair, that was a pretty bad one. On the scale, it was a pretty bad one. But the Obelisk is reopening. Little known fact, I've never been to the top of the Washington Monument. Most people from D.C. have never been, because you only go when tourists come.
Right.
Hey. But the scaffolding is all coming off, which is too bad, because it really does look better with the scaffolding. It's cooler. It's cooler lighting. It really does look better.
Agreed.
That's just the personal opinion. But hey, I'm Clinton Yates. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. It's always fun filling in for Bill Press. Always grateful. Always humble. Thanks again,
for coming
Peter.
in, man. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Never a chore. See you guys soon. Have a good one.
This is the Bill Press Show.